Hey, you're watching Half Asian Tarot Queen. I am Elisa, here to do a reading for you. I just split the deck and I got, interestingly, the Seven of Wands and the Eight of Wands. So, that's really interesting. I mean, like, this is like a sudden change or a message coming in, and this is a card of like standing your ground and sort of like defending yourself. So it's interesting because when it faces me, it goes like this. So it's sort of like, I mean, the message is going away from this person who's standing their ground. So it's just like this person is just like, it's interesting because there's a reading that I did in the last couple of days where it was just sort of like all about, there's just like bifurcation happening depending on like, if you're in alignment with the way things have evolved, like on the ground versus not, and like, sort of like having to stand your ground against a bully and like, and be like, no, like, I'm not going to do that. And so this person is doing that, and it's causing a shift, like a change, and it's happening actually quickly. So I don't know if this person is sending a message to someone, just being like, no, sorry, it's not going to go this way, or what. But the person who's standing their ground is triggering some sort of change or some sort of message that's oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So, oh my gosh, this is so weird. Okay, so I pulled two cards, and then like there was like two bottoms. Like I usually just take the bottom of the deck, but because this pile sort of flipped out, there's like two of them. But interesting, they're both sevens, which is interesting. And then we have the Seven of Swords and the Seven of Pentacles. So this is a card of like lying, like it's a card of deception. It's a card of like not being in alignment with the truth, and oftentimes that happens as a result of like sort of self-deception, and it just like radiates outwards. And depending on like how much like the source of it is able to like pull people into their bubble of reality, depends on how much like damage is done, you know. But in this case, it's sort of like we also have the Seven of Pentacles. This is kind of like you reap what you sow. So it's interesting because I've been talking about in readings leading up to this about this bifurcation. Like it's like half of the people are like in line with the truth, or maybe not half, but some percentage, because basically things have shifted. Like the whole collective consciousness has shifted, and so some people have like also shifted and come into alignment with the way things are, whereas like other people have not done the shift, and they're just trying to like make things be the way they were. But that is at its root like it's an act of deception, deceiving yourself, deceiving the people around you. And so it's inevitably going to crash and burn. So we're kind of like building seeds or planting seeds of a future based on sort of like that alignment, you know, like I was saying, like some people are going to be in alignment with it and some people are not, but that's basically the foundation for how we're moving forward, you know, how you line up with that. And we got The other two cards that came out are Justice, which this is interesting because this has been coming up a lot, and the Four of Wands. So building a new foundation on like the truth, on justice, you know. So it's interesting. Like also when I pulled out that with the Six of Wands, a Six of Swords underneath. So we're moving on from this deception towards something better. Like that's ending, and we're gonna build a solid foundation on something, on the truth, and we're gonna move forward on this new solid foundation. Or at least I guess I'm like following the story of the folks that are in alignment with the truth. Okay, because hopefully at the end of the day, everyone will end up there, you know. But right now, there isn't like a universal acceptance, I guess, of the new reality. So I'm going to the Mystical Shaman Oracle. I'm going to pick some cards. It's kind of like, it's like 3 in the morning right now. Sometimes I get these like bolts of energy like in the middle of the night. And it's like sometimes, I mean, there's like different things that I do when this happens. But a lot of the time, it's like really the best to just do reading or something and like purge the energy. So anyways, okay, so at the bottom we got the moon, which just speaks to like the cycles of life. And you know, we have the moon goes through all these different cycles. Like sometimes you're up and sometimes you're down, sometimes it's new and sometimes it's full, but this is just like a natural rhythm that exists. We got the Arrow, and we got the Council. So this is really interesting too. So the Arrow, this is a card that speaks about alignment, you know, and being in alignment with the greater good. So you can see this arrow is in alignment with all these spiritual influences. And so it's like when you are in alignment with the truth, when you're in alignment with the highest good, the universe, it's like when you pull your arrow and release it into the universe, it's going to hit its mark because it has all these spiritual elements that are sort of like guiding it on its path. But what's also interesting is that we have the council. So this is like a council of spirit beings that it's almost like kind of like the angelic realms that are like helping to guide this arrow to its destinated location, because it's time. It's time. So that's an interesting message, especially considering, you know, we're building this new foundation. There's this new reality that we all must accept. And so, yeah, like, the truth is being shown. And it's kind of the ground zero for this new era, this new stability based on the way things are now and not the way things used to be. And it's really unsettling because there's a lot of things that are being shook up that were like pretty foundational for a long time, you know. So anyways, I'm going to the intuitive goddess, intuitive night goddess. Oh my gosh. And see what we get. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. Ace of Pentacles is at the bottom. So this is a tangible, solid offer or opportunity or windfall or something that's going to come your way and kind of change the game. And it's interesting because, you know, we have this justice and we have this new foundation. And it's like there's this gift coming for someone. And then we have, okay, so we have the Four of Cups, the Ace of Swords, and this is so crazy. So we have justice and we have reclamation. So these are kind of, you know, we have, this is like the Devil card, and then this is justice. So, and that's the second time that justice has come out. So it's like, justice being served is the foundation for whatever this change is. But so we have this person, the Four of Cups. So it's like they've got this one cup and there's like these, a bunch of cups being offered to them, but it's like they've got one in their hand. So it's like sometimes you can interpret it as like you're like not seeing an opportunity or you're ignoring it. But in this deck, this person actually does have one cup in their hand, like they're not ignoring it. Like in the traditional deck, there's like this cup being offered, but they're like not even looking at it. But this person like actually has it in their hands. So to me, this is like a person who's like really holding out for a specific outcome, you know, because there's these outcomes here, but like they're holding on to this one. Like this is the one. And they're kind of like waiting, you know, like it's almost like they're waiting for their moment, or they're manifesting this cup. Is kind of what I'm getting. But the next card we have then is the Ace of Swords, the truth. The truth is coming out. And so it's interesting because there was like a reading. It was in one of the last two readings that I did, and it was all about how this truth was coming out, and it was like, and it totally changed the landscape. Actually, that message has been coming out a bunch in the last couple weeks. This truth is like going to change the landscape, you know, because that goes right into justice and, you know, karma and like justice being served. Because, you know, like I said, there's the lie and there's the truth. And like, depending on which side of the fence you're on is going to determine like, how this goes for you, you know. But regardless, like we're building a new foundation on the truth. And so it's like interesting because it's like we have the truth, and then we have justice for some people, and we have reclamation for other people. So this is like the Devil card in a regular deck, but in this deck it's called reclamation. So it's like kind of like a healing, where it's just sort of like when you aren't in alignment with the truth, like as like a defense mechanism, like what people do is they sort of like disown parts of themselves, or it's like they refuse to acknowledge these things that are there, but they no longer see them as part of themselves, and that's how they sort of like protect themselves, you know. But the bad thing about doing that is like it creates these blind spots. So it's like it kind of just automatically makes it so that you're not in alignment with the truth, because you're not seeing things on the ground as they really are, because you have these like blind spots. So reclamation is all about healing those blind spots, and it's about reclaiming those parts of yourself that you've disowned or denied or are not willing to acknowledge. So it's really interesting because this truth is kind of going to send people on these two journeys, where it's either like they're either going to get justice for being in alignment with the truth, or they're going to have to go through this healing process, you know, because the truth is undeniable. And it seems like this truth might have something to do with this opportunity that's coming online. So it's really interesting. I mean, this looks like very profound, you know, and like I've been relating everything back to the Ukraine thing, because I think the energy of everything is like, I mean, there's so much attention that's like focused on that part of the world right now, that like naturally, like they're sort of like demonstrating the energy of the collective consciousness right now. But it's really interesting because you know, at the root, it's like, you know, obviously there's this issue with energy. Like, I know that the Ukraine was like, on the day that the war was declared, they were actually scheduled to do all this testing on their power grid, and they were trying to establish themselves as being energy independent from Russia. And so they were going to disconnect from the power grid for 3 days, starting on the day that the war got declared, you know. So obviously they're at the root, you know, they're trying to establish their independence with their resources, you know, because they've been kind of like bullied and taken advantage of, you know. And so it's like there've been these different narratives that have been put out there about like why there's a conflict, you know, but the truth is undeniably out there. And so there's going to be like two outcomes depending on how you line up with that truth. So very, very, very interesting. I'm going to Sacred Destiny now, and I'm going to pick a final couple cards. Maybe it's like, yeah, maybe I'll have like purged whatever it is that's been like spinning around. It's making it so I go back to sleep. Okay. Excuse me. But this does look like a good message. Oh, okay. 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 So at the bottom we got fulfillment, which is really good. And we got community, and we got thriving. So it's just like, it's kind of like Ukraine, you know, like they're just like, they kind of really stuck together, and they're just sticking together as a community, and they're like, they're thriving in the face of these crazy odds, you know. But it's like we've got fulfillment, like the moon. This reminds me of that John Prine song about how like you're gonna live in the country and eat lots of peaches and like have this happy life, you know. You should look up that song because it's a great song. But that's what this card reminds me of. So I hope this is what happens for the people of Ukraine, and also for whoever is on the right side of this truth.